Did you know that learning C can serve as a secret weapon for mastering other languages? Welcome, fellow coders, to a journey that will transform the way you perceive programming. Today, we embark on a quest to unravel the intricacies of the C programming language and dive into the enchanting realm of game development. Our adventure begins with C, a language that has withstood the tides of technological evolution. Whether you're a newcomer or a seasoned developer, C is the gateway to a world of efficient, high-performance coding. Join us as we demystify the simplicity and efficiency that make C a programming superhero. In the realm of C programming, simplicity and efficiency reign supreme. With a clear and concise syntax, C becomes a canvas for beginners and a powerful tool for experts. It follows the procedural programming paradigm, a structured approach that forms the backbone of modular code. C's portability takes center stage, allowing your code to dance seamlessly across different platforms. And here's the secret weapon: low-level manipulation through pointers. Yes, it requires care, but it empowers you with control essential for system programming and resource management. Add to that the extensive standard library, a treasure trove of functions for various tasks, and you have the perfect toolkit for building diverse applications. But why embark on this C journey? Brace yourselves for the trials that transform you into coding heroes. Learning C isn't just a skill, it's a superpower. It lays the foundation for mastering other languages like Python, C++, Java, and C. Your path leads to diverse career opportunities, especially in the realms of system-level programming, game development, and embedded systems. And here's the revelation: C's low-level features and memory manipulation aren't just challenges. They're the keys to understanding computer architecture. As we delve into the trials of the coding world, remember, every challenge is a stepping stone to becoming a programming maestro. Our journey takes a thrilling turn as we encounter the Snake Game, a classic that has captured the hearts of millions. In this course, we unveil a simplified version implemented in C. Imagine controlling a snake, devouring food, and growing lodril while dodging walls and your own tail. This is where theory meets practice. Let's approach the code. It's not just lines, it's a gateway to applying C programming principles in the real world. Header files set the stage, constants and macros provide direction. Structures define the game's elements, and functions are the heroes performing tasks. The main function? It's the entry point, the heartbeat of the game. This isn't just code, it's a journey into the core of programming. As we navigate the Snake Game's labyrinth, we face a crucial juncture, where the importance of exploring the code becomes evident. This isn't a mere game, it's a practical lesson. Studying this codebase isn't just about syntax. It's about gaining insights into real-world programming structures. It's contextual learning, preparing you for hands-on coding in future lessons. The crisis becomes an opportunity to develop code reading skills, a valuable asset in your coding arsenal. But the journey doesn't stop here. The real treasure lies in learning programming through game development. It's an engagement and motivation powerhouse. Picture creating a playable game, complete with dynamic visuals, motivation that propels you through the learning process. This treasure trove includes the practical application of concepts, honing your problem-solving skills, and unlocking the door to creativity and design thinking. Game development isn't just a project. It's a comprehensive learning experience, providing immediate feedback, fostering cross-disciplinary learning, and introducing you to industry practices that extend beyond the gaming world. Now, as we stand at the crossroads, a new ally emerges, the result of progress and innovation. Artificial intelligence (AI) steps into the scene, transforming the landscape of programming. Dive into the world of AI-enhanced development tools and code analysis. AI's role in code analysis is revolutionary. It identifies patterns, spots potential issues, and enhances readability. The ability to recognize coding patterns and provide intelligent suggestions is nothing short of magical. Modern IDEs leverage AI for code suggestions, auto-completion, and refactoring assistance, ushering in a new era of efficient coding. AI becomes the guardian, detecting bugs and vulnerabilities, ensuring your code stands strong against the tests of production. Our journey through C programming, game development, and the AI revolution has reached a point of reflection, a return to where it all began. But this isn't just a return. It's a new life enriched with skills, knowledge, and the confidence to face the coding challenges that lie ahead. As we conclude this epic journey, remember that this course isn't just about learning to code. It's about discovering the joy of creating, problem solving, and innovating. This is just the beginning. In our next lesson, we'll dive into setting up the development environment,